It was a cold, dreary night in October 1849 when Edgar Allan Poe was found wandering in the streets of Baltimore, disoriented, dressed in ragged clothes that were not his own. His once brilliant mind had collapsed into feverish mutterings. His trembling lips repeated a single name: Reynolds. No one knew who Reynolds was. No one ever would. 4 days later, Poe was dead. His final words: Lord, help my poor soul. For over a century, historians and medical experts have struggled to unravel the cause of his death. Was it illness, alcohol, a violent crime, or something even more sinister? What happened to Edgar Allan Poe in his final days is a mystery as haunting as the stories he left behind. And in this video, we will step into the darkness and attempt to uncover the truth. Before we dissect the enigma of his death, we must first understand the man himself. Edgar Allan Poe was not just a writer, he was a tortured artist, a visionary of the macabre, a poet whose words dripped with sorrow and madness. Born in 1809, Poe's life was steeped in tragedy from the very beginning. His father abandoned the family when he was just an infant, and soon after, his mother succumbed to tuberculosis. Often before his third birthday, Poe was taken in by the wealthy Allan family, but he never truly felt like he belonged. His foster father was strict and unsympathetic, and the relationship was fraught with tension. As he grew older, Poe struggled with gambling debts, poverty, and heartbreak. He found solace in literature, crafting some of the most haunting stories ever written: The Telltale Heart, The Black Cat, The Mask of the Red Death, stories that explode madness, death, and the fragile line between reality and nightmare. His poem, The Raven, catapulted him to literary fame, yet fame did not bring fortune. Despite his genius, he lived much of his life teetering on the edge of destitution. And as his stories grew darker, so too did his own life. The love of his life, his young wife Virginia, succumbed to tuberculosis, a cruel echo of his mother's fate. Poe was shattered, and his grief seeped into every word he wrote. He was a man who understood pain intimately, a soul who seemed destined to suffer. In late September 1849, Poe left Richmond, Virginia, supposedly on his way to Philadelphia to edit a collection of poetry. What happened next is a blur of confusion and contradiction. On October 3rd, Poe was discovered outside Ryan's Tavern in Baltimore, badly conscious. His clothes were cheap and ill-fitting, nothing like the refined attire he was known to wear. He was delirious, unable to explain how he got there, unable to account for the past few days. And then there was the name Reynolds, which he whispered again and again. No one knew who Reynolds was. No one ever would. Taken to Washington College Hospital, Poe spent 4 days slipping in and out of consciousness. His behavior was erratic. At times, he was lucid. At others, he was gripped by hallucinations. Witnesses claimed he would suddenly start shouting in terror, as if seeing some invisible horror lurking in the shadows. On October 7, 1849, at the age of 40, Edgar Allan Poe took his final breath. His last words: Lord, help my poor soul. His official cause of death: phrenitis, or brain inflammation, a vague and unsatisfying diagnosis. But was it really that simple? For over a century, historians, medical experts, and conspiracy theorists have tried to piece together the puzzle of Poe's final moments. The theories range from plausible to outlandish, but each one adds another layer of mystery to an already chilling story. Alcohol and delirium tremens. Poe was no stranger to alcohol. His struggles with drinking were well known, and some believe he drank himself into oblivion, suffering from delirium tremens, a severe withdrawal symptom that can cause hallucinations, paranoia, and death. However, close friends insisted that Poe had been sober in the months leading up to his death, making this theory uncertain. Cooping, a political kidnapping. One of the most sinister theories suggests that Poe was a victim of cooping, a brutal voter fraud scheme common in the 19th century. Criminal gangs would kidnap individuals, force them to drink or drug them, and make them vote multiple times in different disguises. The fact that Poe was found near a polling station on election day, dressed in unfamiliar clothes, lends credibility to this theory. Was he simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Rabies. In 1996, medical researchers revisited Poe's symptoms and concluded they were consistent with rabies. The fever, delirium, aggression, and sudden death all fit the profile. However, no bite marks or known exposure to rabid animals were ever reported, leaving this theory inconclusive. Murder or foul play. Some believe Poe was targeted by an unknown enemy. His erratic condition, unfamiliar clothing, and disoriented state suggest he may have been drugged or poisoned. Could he have been the victim of a violent attack or a sinister plot? If so, why has the truth remained buried for so long? Brain tumor. In 1875, Poe's body was exhumed, and reports suggested his skull contained a hard mass, possibly evidence of a brain tumor. If true, this could explain his hallucinations and erratic behavior in his final days. Could this have been the real cause of his demise? Syphilis or other illness. Some historians speculate that Poe may have suffered from an undiagnosed illness, perhaps syphilis, epilepsy, or even carbon monoxide poisoning. Each theory has its own merits, yet none provide a definitive answer. Edgar Allan Poe's death is one of the great unsolved mysteries of literary history. His final words, "Lord help my poor soul," only add to the eerie legend that surrounds him. Poe was a man who lived in the shadows, haunted by his own mind. His stories reflected his torment, and in the end, his own death became his greatest mystery. Perhaps he was always meant to leave us with questions rather than answers. Perhaps that is the final tragic beauty of Edgar Allan Poe. And so, in death, as in life, he remains an enigma, a ghostly figure whispering from the shadows, forever trapped in the pages of his own dark and twisted tales.